All right, everyone. I think we're going live. Sometimes it takes a minute to get out to all the different platforms because we're going live on our Facebook page, Freedom Boat Club of Tennessee, and also the event that we created. Hopefully, it's going to that. And then our YouTube channel, Freedom Boat Club of Tennessee. So, welcome everybody. Hopefully, we have members from all across the state watching. Uh, we were intending to feature all of our locations this evening, but as we started putting this together, we're up to 11 locations now, and kind of realized that's a lot of information to cover in a very short amount of time. So we decided it would be a better service to you if we just kind of did one location at a time and did a deeper dive just to give you a little more value in information you can use this season. So, we're going to start off with our biggest location, which is Percy Priest Lake. And even if you may boat at that location, I think you're still going to get quite a bit of value out of watching this. We're going to introduce you to the team here in a minute that we have on with us tonight. Looks like we might have a issue with a couple of the event things that popped up. So hopefully you guys are finding us on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. But we're gonna go ahead and kind of hop into it. So the let's see, here's our agenda for this evening. So again, we're gonna introduce you to everybody who's on this evening. And then we're going to jump into just an introduction to Percy Priest Lake, go over some fun facts and some history on the lake that some of you might not be aware of. Hopefully, we have some of our East Tennessee members watching as well, and maybe you'll be able to make some plans to come join us over here in Middle Tennessee this year. We've got, we're going to jump into just focusing on our actual Freedom Boat Club dock at Four Corners Marina, talk about how the parking is set up, some amenities we have, and then we're going to give you a snapshot of our 2024 fleet. It just continues to grow and grow. And then we're going to jump into Google Earth and actually do a virtual tour of the lake, show you some good spots to check out, restaurants, areas, just fun things to do. And then we're going to pull up Navionics Boating and Marine Lakes and point out some hazards that you should be aware of. Go into some just resources that you can check into if you're interested in learning more. And then we'll open it up to a Q&A. So um, Mariah is actually backstage right now, so she's going to be kind of monitoring as you guys are making comments. And, we might be able to take a moment to answer some questions throughout, but we do have that portion at the end reserved for Q&A. So let's get into it. So introduction to the team, first of all. So we have a lot of you, if you've been to Percy Priest, Four Corners location in the past, you've probably met uh, Jimmy, James, Talbot. So Jimmy, thanks for coming on with us this evening.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so and you're kind of taking on a new role for us this year as our fleet manager, which we really need with 102 boats that we're up to now, or is that the right number,
Um,
I think?
for
20?
all of
100?
Tennessee, it's higher than that. 122 for
Yeah,
all of Tennessee. Yeah,
122. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I knew it was something like that. So
Ones
yeah, a
and twos.
lot
Yeah,
of boats. A
a
lot of
lot.
boats to keep track of, make sure registrations and all the details are done. So we're excited that you're going to be helping us out with that. We also have Captain Gary on with us. So if you've joined, within the last year or so, you may have been trained by Captain Gary. He's super knowledgeable about Percy Priest Lake and Old Hickory. So I think that might be the next one we're going to feature, which won't be next week because that's spring break for Middle Tennessee. So hopefully the following week, and we'll keep you all posted on that. But Gary's going to help us out with featuring Old Hickory. But Gary, thanks for coming on tonight.
Nice to be here. It's pretty exciting getting into this season,
Yeah,
people.
we're ready. We're
Good.
ready. And then a big announcement. So we have a new location manager for our Four Corners location on Percy Priest. So we get to introduce him to you here virtually this evening. Tim Drake, welcome. You want to say a couple things just to kind of introduce yourself to the members?
Yeah, sure. As Angie said, I'm Tim Drake. I'm the new regional manager at the Four Corners facility. I spent the better part of late last summer into the fall at Cedar Creek on Oat Hickory Lake, and just excited to be at Four Corners and get to know the members at Percy Priest.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this evening. So let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to cover. So again, we have a lot of locations now across the state. It became evident we weren't going to be able to cover all of them in one session, but the Percy Priest location is the one with the star over here, just kind of in the, I guess, Laverne, Antioch area, right in the middle of Percy Priest Lake. So it's a great location for accessing the entire lake, and we're gonna kind of give you a tour of that, like I said. So, just to start off with some fun facts about Percy Priest. So, actually, before I started working for Freedom Boat Club in 2020, I was running some charters on a pontoon boat for like tourists and stuff. And I did some research on the lake because, I thought if out of town people ask me questions, I kind of wanted to know a little bit about it. And so, these are actually from my notes that I made. So hopefully everything is accurate as this research that I've done online. But so the reservoir was formed in back in 1967. That's when it was completed, and it was named for Tennessee Congressman Percy Priest, who was also a teacher and a writer for the Tennessean. The dam itself is just 10 miles east of downtown Nashville, so a nice convenient location for people in Nashville to access and enjoy time on the water. 256 miles of shoreline and 100 feet deep at its deepest point, and then 42 miles long, and there's 14,200 acres of water at Summer Pool, which is 490 feet above mean sea level. So that number 490 is important for members to remember if you're using the Navionics Boating and Marine Lakes app and the TVA Lake Info app. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but you can adjust your water levels according to the depth to make sure you're showing the current conditions out there. It's surrounded by 18,854 acres of public lands, and 10,000 acres are devoted to wildlife management. That's why you don't see houses on Percy Priest Lake. So it's kind of different than, say, Old Hickory or some of our other lakes in Middle Tennessee. You get a little bit different scenery, which makes it kind of nice. Um, a lot of islands out there on Percy Priest Lake. There's 32. Some say as many as 38 islands, depending on the water level and whatnot. 22 of them actually have names, and 11 have primitive campsites that you can camp on for free. So kind of interesting. So this is a graphic that I had come across. It kind of shows you the Stones River, and then it morphs into what Percy Priest became when they created the dam. And I don't know how well y'all can see it, but Four Corners is over here. And so it's interesting. This line here is the county line. So it actually kind of cuts right through Four Corners. So depending on where you are on the docks, you could either be in Davidson County or Rutherford County. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You can kind of see how the channel swings. Looks like they didn't continue it on under the bridge there, but uh, I thought that was a little neat graphic to share with you. And then there's an interesting story when they created this lake. The Corps of Engineers actually bulldozed down a town that was founded back in 1802 right along the Stones River called Jefferson. And turned out they actually probably didn't need to do that because when they created the dam, that town never ended up flooding. And so that's probably kind of a bummer. But it's an interesting historical thing. They, I guess, just didn't account for all the little crevices and caves and things like that. The water filled up all that, and it just didn't flood as high as they expected it to. And then another little interesting fact that I had read is that 97 family cemeteries had to be relocated prior to the construction of the dam. So that's kind of crazy. I have a friend who's been going to the lake for many years, and he has some really crazy stories. You could call them ghost stories, and I always thought it would be fun if I could talk him into doing some, member experiences with us. So we do some like haunted Percy Priest Lake tours during, the fall. That might be fun. But if you're interested in this kind of history, check out there's a Facebook group called Under the Waters History of the Lands Lost to Percy Priest Lake, and you can find out a lot of cool information there. So I mentioned a lot of islands on Percy Priest Lake, so this is a list of all the islands that have names, so 22 with names, and then it tells you which ones have the primitive campsites. Um, I love learning all the names of the islands on the lake, and the Navionics Boating and Marine Lakes app is like a great way to do that. So when you're out there boating, you can actually see the names of the islands and get to know them. And this is just an old picture of what Ponderosa Island looked like before they flooded the lake. So I thought that was interesting. Ponderosa is one of the biggest islands out there. It's not too far from Four Corners as you're heading around Pear Island to get under the Hobson Pike Bridge. It's just off to your right. So President Lyndon B. Johnson actually came and spoke at the dedication ceremony for Percy Priest Lake, June 29th, 1968. At that time, he said there was nearly 500,000 people within 30 minutes of the lake, and now it's well over 2 million. Like I said, I got these numbers a few years ago, so who knows what it is now. But he emphasized many purposes for the lake, including reducing flooding, supplying water, creating hydroelectric power, and providing recreation within 10 miles of Nashville. And it's kind of world famous. If you guys have heard of Little Big Town and the song Pontoon, they filmed their music video out in Party Cove, and we'll look at where that is when we do our virtual tour here in a little bit. So it's kind of fun to watch that video and see familiar areas of the lake, and it's a pretty catchy song to get stuck in your head when you're out there. Probably a lot of other music videos that, with Percy Priest being so close to Nashville, the country music capital of the world, there's probably a lot of others out there, but I thought that was fun. We won't play it for you. You guys can go look it up on your own. So a little bit of detail about the lake. We've got 5 marinas: Nashville Shores, Elm Hill, Hamilton Creek, which is mainly a sailboat marina, Four Corners, which is where Freedom Boat Club is located, and Fate Sanders. There's 4 restaurants on the lake that you can go to and enjoy. We'll again look at that when we do our virtual tour in a bit. But we've got Papa Turney's Barbecue at Nashville Shores, Shipwreck Cove at Elm Hill Marina, Scoreboard, which is going to be opening soon at Four Corners, and everybody's really excited about that because we went all last season without a restaurant, so we're ready to have them open at Four Corners. And then we've got Hoppy's Harbor Bar and Grill at Fate Sanders Marina. There's now two RV parks on the lake. Elm Hill Marina, there's an RV park, and there's a new one at Four Corners Marina. Both very, very nice RV parks. Three campgrounds. One's at Pool Knobs, one at Seven Points, and one at Anderson Road. 15 boat ramps, six picnic areas. We've got the YMCA Camp Widgewan, I think is how you say it. And then a big state park, Long Hunter State Park. And of course, my passion is fishing, so I'm really proud of the fact that the lake was home of the 1972 Bassmaster Classic, which was actually the second ever Bassmaster Classic in history. If you're interested, you can actually search that on YouTube, and there's a couple of really cool videos to watch from that event. You can find anything on YouTube, even the ceremony with President Johnson is on there. It's kind of cool to see. And this is a highlight a little bit of some of the species that if you're out there fishing, you might catch. There are some others as well, but these are kind of the main ones. And I just listed out the world records just to kind of uh, ignite your imagination. 15-pound, 3-ounce largemouth bass. That would be amazing. And then what was it? The catfish. 85 pounds. Holy cow. Crazy. All right, so now we're going to kind of dive into our actual location. Again, we're at Four Corners Resort and Marina. I'm going to just play a little bit of this video. There's kind of some really cool aerial shots of the marina itself, just to kind of give you a idea of what it looks like. And let's see if this works. All right, we won't play the whole thing, but that kind of gives you a little glimpse of what the marina looks like. And then, as I mentioned, scoreboard is coming. It's opening soon. So we're really excited about that. It's a sports bar and grill, American fare with a twist. They have extensive list of beers on tap, including rotating craft beers, cocktails, including bushwhackers, monthly specials, live music, and multiple big screens. If any of you have been to our Cedar Creek Marina location, scoreboard there opened last season. So we're super pumped to have them at Four Corners. Looking forward to that. All right, so now we're going to get into our location itself at Four Corners on Percy Priest. So some of the amenities that you get to experience there, we have free gated parking. There is a security gate there. You do need a code to get in. Our dock staff is really good at texting members and making sure that they have the code. So make sure you pay attention to your confirmation texts. We have our own restroom facilities. So this picture was actually taken today. Not the most beautiful day, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But our little restrooms are there. If you can see that little white building there. So nice to have those right there. You don't have to go all the way across over to the main part of the marina and the ship store. We have a new concierge service, which I'm actually going to bring Mariah on, if I can get my cursor back over to the right screen. Here we go. Let's see. Here we go. Hey,
Am I
Mariah.
here? Cool.
You
Can you
are
hear me?
here. Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
You want to tell us a little bit about the new concierge service?
Yeah, so with the growth at Four Corners, we're going to be up to 38 boats at the peak of our season this year. That's 9 more boats than we had before. And one of our biggest struggles at that location is the fact that you guys are coming down. Sometimes it just kind of depends on the day. Everyone shows up at once, or it's a nice kind of trickle in, but nonetheless, it gets a little discombobulated. So, what we're going to be doing is we've moved. We're going to have like a concierge, I guess, table just at the top of the sidewalk here, so just towards us, not past the American flag. And then we're going to be there to greet you, help you get stuff out of your vehicle, help you with finding a place to park, and then the staff is going to radio to the dock that Mr. and Mrs. Smith is here for their boat today. And they will walk you down, hand you off to the next employee, which will then take you to your boat. What we're hoping with this is that there's going to be a little bit more of a smooth process. You're not going to show up at the dock and kind of just wait for someone to see you while they're running around cleaning boats and running around gassing boats. Just a little bit more hands-on. As soon as you get out of your car, you're going to be greeted with the Freedom Boat Club staff. So when we say concierge service, within that, first couple of minutes, you're going to have somebody walking you down, asking you if you need ice, check the notes on the reservation system for what toys you guys want for your outing that day. And just as a reminder, again, I said this on the last call, on Saturdays and Sundays, please only limit your toy to one at a time. And just so we can get something for everybody. And with that also, if there's something that you are taking with you every single time out on the boat, we really encourage you to buy your own. Of course, we have plenty. We've made a huge investment in our toys this year. But then again, if it's something that's going to completely ruin your day if you don't have it, we do encourage you to buy one. We can help you source really good deals throughout town. The Nashville Boating Center, for one, we do have a partnership with them. If you walk into the Nashville Boating Center and you're going to buy skis, which we'll have more of this year, a wakeboard that's really fit your size, the boots are your size, the board fits your weight, they'll walk you through, guiding you through the best board, the best binding, so on and so forth, and just to be sure that you have a good experience. And then, we'll be asking if you need the ice. The ice machine is there. David and Troy had worked really, really hard on making that ice machine be able to last even at the hottest of days. It's nice and insulated this year, really finished. And the office this year in our shed was finished. So we just feel like we're going to have an all-around good routine down at Four Corners. We've worked really hard on it this off season. So we're labeling it concierge service because from the time you get out of your car, the time you get to the boat, you're going to have someone walking with you along the way. Does that explain it well? I feel like it.
Does.
I feel like it did, but we do have Q&A at the end. So if anybody has particular questions on, or recommendations on how we can make that process better, we are all ears.
Absolutely. And I did add one nice thing about this location too is that we do have a covered dock and covered slip. So, if we have like a pop-up shower or something that comes up, it's nice to have that roof over your head before or after during your reservation. So, all right. Go on to the next one. So our fleet, as Mariah kind of already alluded to, we're now up to 38 boats at this one location. The breakdown is kind of looking like 6 surf boats, 12 bow riders, 14 tri-tunes, 4 double-decker tri-tunes, and 2 fishing tri-tunes, which is a great addition. So we're really excited about the mix of boats going into 2024. Does anybody have anything to add or comment on that?
I guess I'll just add that, from literally this week until probably the second week of March, we are prepping and finishing up getting all of our brand new tri-tunes off blocks onto trailers and into the water. So you're going to be seeing those popping up I guess here in the next probably few days, you'll see one at a time. Just be patient with us. A lot of this is super weather dependent. If it's really nasty outside, or the temperature does get below freezing, we do kind of slow down just a little bit. But we will be peak fleet by Memorial Day weekend.
Sweet. And we are doing another pre-splash party, just to throw that in there, for Middle Tennessee. East Tennessee members are welcome to come out too, but we're planning that for April 13th, Saturday. So we'll still have some brand new boats that we've not been able to splash quite yet, for you to come see at our warehouse. We're gonna have a food truck, beer truck, and hopefully a cornhole tournament. So you guys can kind of mix and mingle and get to know each other and get excited about all the new boats in the season. So put that on your calendar. All right, so now we're going to kind of jump into Google Earth and do a little tour of the lake. So let me share my screen there. Here we go.
Ryan says we look great.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
goodness, right?
Ryan. Any other comments or anything we want to pause to answer before we get back into this?
Jimmy, were you touching on one?
Yeah, I know that this is the time of the year where we start to get down at the dock. We start to get the question of when the surf boats and bow riders are going to start hitting the water again. And we always let them know it's dependent on the depth. We're waiting to get to full summer pool because if you bat on a Percy Priest during winter pool, there's just too many things you could hit and the water depth just isn't there. So I know we start to get that a lot around this time of year. We get a lot of calls and texts of, hey, when are those going in?
Yeah, and I'll just take that moment to kind of answer that if anybody's curious. So Jimmy said it perfectly. We are Percy Priest and Old Hickory are two of the lakes that kind of get their surf boats and fiberglass boats last, just because of the depth that we experience. Of course, Old Hickory doesn't fluctuate as much, so those will probably get dropped in a little sooner than Percy Priest. But Center Hill, Timms Ford, Norris Lake out in East Tennessee, and even some of our Fort Loudon locations, those locations are going to be getting their boats fairly soon, just considering the depth. You don't have the issues like Percy Priest at all of those lakes. That is for sure. And I will say, this is the first winter, we did have a fairly wet and cold winter, but I can say that throughout the years, this winter has been the best as far as damage sustained on the boats in the off season. Sometimes we come into the spring and we do have a lot of lower unit damage, just from people, not adjusting their navionics or not just for a second paying attention to the Garmins and the Simrads on the units. So just be sure that you understand when you go out of Percy Priest from, we'll say, mid-November until mid-April, you're definitely going to not go the places that you typically do in the summer. But water typically starts coming up around the second week of April, third week of April, and it's usually to summer pool by the first week of May. So that's when the surf boats and the rest of the bow riders will be splashed in the Percy Priest. Cool.
Very good. And somebody asked again when the pre-splash party member social is going to be. Saturday, April 13th. We're planning 11 to about 5-ish. And then just so anybody knows, if you don't know, that we have a Freedom Boat Sisters group that we started in Middle Tennessee last year, and we actually have an event tomorrow evening at Sam's Sports Bar at Blue Turtle Bay. So if you haven't seen anything about that, you can join the Freedom Boat Sisters group on Facebook, and we can get you RSVP'd if you still want to come out to that. But yeah, we'll get into if anybody doesn't have anything else to add at the moment.
There's a couple other questions in there.
Okay.
Like Logan, I see your question, but let's keep going. And once we get to the Q&A, we'll be sure to answer that question. We'll also answer in the chat just in case, Logan, if you've got to jump off.
Perfect. Very good. All right, so I've got Google Earth pulled up over here with some pins that I kind of pre-marked, and we might be able to hit some other spots for you guys as well. but this is kind of zoomed out as an overview of the lake itself. So we're, like I said, kind of right in the middle there at Four Corners. So we'll start with that location. So we'll kind of zoom in. So when you pull in, if you've never been here before, you're gonna pull into the marina. You're gonna take this driveway off of Hobson Pike. So what it? No, it's Liver and Couchville Pike.
Liver in
Sorry,
Couchville.
I
Yeah.
haven't been there in a while. So, oh, but you're coming in. So the big RV park's over here. You're gonna hang a right. You're not gonna want to go into the RV park. So hang a right there. Come on down. This drive would take you to the ship store in the main marina and the restaurant scoreboard once it opens. So keep going straight. And then off to the right here, you're going to see the boat ramp area. So you'll see a bunch of boats parked and the ramp itself for people that need to launch their boats. Pity those people. And then you're going to hang it right. And that's going to take you over to the newer part of the marina, which is where we're fortunate enough to have our Freedom Boat Club location. So, like I said, there's a security gate somewhere around in here. Dock staff will make sure you have the code so you can get in. So, our parking area over here. And then we are on what's called C Dock. So, it starts with, I don't know, is this up to date?
It's
With
actually
all the
not.
docks?
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
didn't think so.
Google Earth misses one. Just go for like the one in the very center, so above the third one from the bottom. We can. It's about where it's at.
Okay. So yeah, so C dock there is A, B, and C, and then D and E. So just make sure you're heading to C dock. We have two Freedom Boat Club flags marking the entrance. You'll see that restroom trailer, and so just a little walkway down to the dock. So that's just kind of overview of how you get to us. And then from there, let's start by going over to Fate Sanders. Jimmy and I were kind of talking offline. You know, this time of year with the water level being pretty low, you got to be real careful. And Captain Gary mentioned this too. If you're heading over to Fate Sanders, you really, really, really need to be using your navionics. Stay in the channel, even in the summer. I
Yeah.
do this. I follow the channel exactly on my way over to Fate Sanders because there's just too many shallow areas. But if you're doing that, you're not going to have any trouble, and it's a great place to go. It's a beautiful part of the lake that I really enjoy. Um, it feels a little different than when you go to the other side. I don't know about you guys, but it's more peaceful and
Yes.
relaxed.
Less the party side. It's not the party side where when you go under Hobson Pike, you start to get to the party side of the lake.
Yep.
That's where all
Little
the
more
fishermen hang out.
Yeah, a little more fish focused on the Fate Sanders side, but let's take a hop
I
on
always
over to
I
there.
always tell people though if they're new to the lake, I send them under the bridge first until they're comfortable with the lake before heading to sort of the Fate Sanders side.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, that's where I started out when I first started trying to learn Percy Priest, is I would hang out more on that side of the lake, and then as I got more comfortable, I'd start venturing, and following the channel and learning how to use my electronics. Um, in the spring, the too, you can sometimes come across debris if we get, big rains and stuff like that. So just kind of be mindful of that as well, looking for like floating trees and logs and things like that. But this is Fate Sanders, so I'm gonna zoom back out a little bit. So you see Four Corners over here, and so you're following the channel around. Let's see, I usually go that way and up and around. And let's see, sorry, I gotta zoom a little bit. It's not fully rendering, so it makes it a little difficult to see. But when you got your navionics up, it's going to clearly show you the channel and the way that Gary teaches to set your draft of the boat so you can auto route to Fate Sanders um, pretty perfectly. It's not going to take you through any hazardous areas. But Hoppy's Harbor Bar and Grill, great place to go boat and dock up. I'll zoom in here and just kind of show you where you can actually dock, because I know that's a question a lot of people wonder if you're just coming in for lunch. Um, Depending on what time it is and if there happens to be a fishing tournament going on, you might not want to attempt it. Usually around like 2:33, if there's a tournament going on, especially on a weekend, there might be a ton of fishing boats docked all around. You might have a hard time finding parking, but generally, if it's earlier in the day, um, you can usually find somewhere to dock up right alongside the restaurant, which is located right here. Um, or you can actually boat all around those two docks and down, and there's more parking on this side as well. And their gas dock is located right here. So that's just kind of a landmark for you. But anything to add there, Gary?
Just this time of year, it is very shallow in that area coming in, so
Mm-hmm.
you might want to go
And
out and
even,
around like you showed on the backside of the marina, because right there by the boat ramp, that point that sticks out, that gravel
yeah.
bar comes out extent. Unless you're right at hugging that
Mm.
marina, the dock, you're liable to run aground.
Yep, so you can see, and this is actually a really good Google Earth rendering. I didn't even adjust you can adjust the history and go back to a time where maybe the lake was at full pool or shallow like it was here. So you can really see what that point he's talking about is right there. And so you kind of want to hug those docks when you're coming in just to make sure you don't hit that. And then you see this shallow area right here. I never go in through here. I always just go around, and they have channel markers and no wake buoys. Again, to reiterate, this is a no wake zone as well, so just be sure you're mindful of that. But we come in this way, kind of hug that, park over here, like Gary said, just go around and then park on that side of the restaurant.
One thing to add to that right now, I was there today, and on the backside of that little island out in front, right in between the shoreline and that island, right there where your arrow's at, there is a
Hmm.
brush pile, and it's not a small one, it's a big one.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I've gone through there before, and I was nervous, let's just say. Not
Yeah,
on a fun boat, fun boat.
somebody has planted a big brush pile right there.
Gotcha. Good for fishing, not good
Yep.
for boating. All right, so from there, just on this side of the lake, another area I just kind of wanted to highlight, and it goes much further. You know, you can go down more of this where it becomes the Stones River, but you really need to be super cautious because it is so shallow. Right now, I wouldn't recommend it at all. Um, Summer pool, just really use caution. But from Fate Sanders, there's another really cool area that I like to go called Pool Knobs. So there's a campground there, as I mentioned earlier. So Four Corners, again, just for reference, is right here. So that's your starting point. And you would follow the channel all the way around and go to Pool Knob. You don't do any of these cut throughs, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about that when we pull up Navionics. But let's zoom on over there. So one cool thing I like, here's the actual campground over here, and they do have a boat ramp. But one thing I really like about this area is that it's all no wake zone. So there are no wake buoys at some point. Unfortunately, they're probably a little harder to see than they should be. So you do occasionally get a boat zipping on in there and didn't realize it's a no wake zone. But it's a great little area to anchor and hang out and get your floaties out and do some swimming because you're not going to be constantly getting bothered by boats zooming by and putting off wake. So it's pretty relaxing. Um, so that's an area I really like. It must be good for fishing too, because every now and then I'll see fishing boats come back in there. Do you guys have anything to add on that area?
No, you
So
brought up
that
you brought up
no wake zone starts at the
Yep.
point of that the campground at the very point and to the
Yeah, right
island.
here.
Right, that's where it runs.
Yep, and there's the ramp right there. So that's why it's a no wake zone. What were you gonna say, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was just gonna remind everyone to be aware of your no wake zones on Percy Priest. We've had a couple people last year who didn't notice they were in no wake zones and were kind of flying through some spots. So just always be aware of your no wake zones.
Yep. We'll talk about the one real quick at Four Corners too. I'm glad you brought that up. Um, but we'll work our way kind of back that direction, and then we'll head on over to the other side of the lake. So one other area I just wanted to point out is as you're going that direction, you're going to go by Long Hunter State Park. It's a fairly large state park. But when you come out of Four Corners, which again, we're over here, so you're boating out, watch out for that little shallow area there, and you're coming up this way. Um, you can see there are a couple areas to be aware of here, some shallow areas. We do have channel markers. Hopefully they're all in the correct spot, Gary. You were out there today. They all
Uh,
look right.
yes, except for it's missing the red marker at the cut through right there when we go between the two islands. Back down
The
down there in the corner. Yeah, right there. You're missing your red buoy right there.
Okay, gotcha. Navionics will show you where the channel markers are supposed to be, so always be referencing that. But we've got a big rock that comes out here from Long Hunter State Park, and sometime, this time of year, you might be able to see quite a bit of it, but as the water starts to come up, a lot of it's going to get hidden, and it's still right there at the surface, so just be aware of that. And then you've got the sandbar that comes way out. For a long, long time, the channel marker was like sitting on top of the sandbar. I think they did fix that, unless it's moved again since then. But you'll see a lot of people on the bank over here fishing. We're actually planning a Freedom Boat Sisters event, hopefully for April, where we're gonna come out here and do some fishing ourselves off the bank at Long Hunter. So that should be fun, just kind of teaching how to do it and hopefully catch some fish. So then there is a boat ramp back in here, and so again, you're gonna see no wake buoys if you go that direction. Not much back here, but the boat ramp. But it is a no wake zone, so that's just something to be aware of. And then speaking of no wake zones, we'll head on back over to Four Corners real quick.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize, I mean, this is a very big marina at this point, and it is a very big no wake zone. So, our dock being over in this area, you're boating out. Just be mindful as you're going by all of these docks that you should not be putting out any wake. Um, I know everybody's excited to get out there and hit that throttle, but it's actually against the law. If TWRA spots you, they'll give you a ticket. So be mindful of that. Just be patient. You're on the water. You're on a boat. Get out here. You'll see the no wake markers when people are coming into the marina. So once you get past those, then you can kind of open up and go faster. So from there,
So on that no wake
yep,
right there, from
yep,
our dock to the no wake, it'll take you at no wake speed about 10 minutes to get out. It's a fairly long ride, and I know people get kind of itchy to get out, so they start pushing it a little bit. But it is a fairly decent ride, so it's probably 8 to 10
yep,
minutes to get out of there.
yep. So just be prepared. Start playing your music, getting ready, and you'll be good to go. So once you get out of there, we're gonna kind of head on over to the other side of the lake. So we talk about this a lot in training, but for some reason, some people still don't get it. When you come out of Four Corners and you see the Hobson Pike Bridge off in the distance, and you want to get over to that side of the lake, do not be tempted to go through this area. It's a shortcut for sure, but as you can see, even on this image, you've got these super shallow areas all through here. You're gonna see boats going through there all the time, I promise. But don't think that that makes it okay to go through this area. People wreck props, lower units all the time. You have to be on just the exact right path. I wouldn't even rely on navionics to do it. So just avoid that area. That's not the way to go. You're gonna go around in between Mousetail and Pear Island. That's where the channel is. Just follow it. It's going to take you up to this area, and then you can go under the bridge. Um, it's crazy how often we unfortunately have damage going through there. So, anything to add on that, Jimmy, Gary?
I was driving over the Hobson Pike Bridge the other day, and I was looking back at Four Corners, and most of that section was completely out of the water. So
Okay.
it was just rocks and everything completely out of the water. So even when the water rises up, that thing is only a foot down. You're gonna ruin a lower unit going through there. And then the other tricky part is the channel stays closer to the Long Hunter side as you're coming around Pear Island. I notice a
Hmm.
couple people will cut it a little too close to the island. That channel runs along the Long Hunter side, so you just got to make a wide
Yeah.
turn around that island.
So it's a kind of like a bluff wall, and so anytime you see a bluff wall, you can usually assume that it's deeper there, because the land's just gonna follow what your eyes are seeing. Over
Mhm.
here on Pear Island, you can see it's pretty shallow. I've seen people like beach and hang out over there, but yeah, you don't want to cut that too close because of it is pretty low. So just follow around and then go under the bridge. Once you get under there, as long as you're kind of staying in the middle here, there is a couple shallow areas. Um, so don't get too close to the land. But Hole in the Wall Island, that's a pretty popular place for people to go. It's pretty picturesque because there's a reason it's called Hole in the Wall. There's a hole right here that people like to go check out. Um, it's fun to kind of just hang out, look in there. It's it's kind of scenic. And then you've got this bluff wall right here where people like to cliff jump. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's fun to just kind of hang out and watch crazy people jump off the cliffs. I would never do it in a million years, but that's just me. Um, so that's a popular area on the lake. And then right across from there, not far, there's a sandbar that comes out here, so beware of that. There's a channel marker, so make sure you're clearing that. But you'll head on over to the famous Party Cove. As I mentioned, that's where Little Big Town filmed that music video for Pontoon. So I think it looks like a schnauzer's head,
Yeah.
I always think. um, but yeah, I think one reason this cove is so popular for a hangout area is because it's pretty protected by the wind, because you've got the surrounding, trees and whatnot. But on a weekend, you're gonna come in there, treat it like a no wake zone. There's gonna be boats tied up to each other, and you don't want to come flying in there and create wake and knock everybody's boats together. Anywhere you're at on the lake when there's a cove somewhere where boats are tied up like that, just be super mindful of that. Um, anything to add about Party Cove?
Party Cove stays pretty deep. So you're normally, I mean,
Hmm.
even just right off the land, you're pretty much in 12 to 15 feet of water. Um, if you're like me and you don't want to be around that many people, there's a couple really nice coves right around Hobson Pike Bridge, just right before it and right after it. And they stay about
Hmm.
12 feet of water as well at full summer pool. And they're tucked away kind of like that. And they're a lot less busy.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, couple coves I know that I've hung out in. You've got this one right off to the right hand side before you head under the bridge. I believe that's called Noodle Nut, if
Hmm.
I'm correct. I think there's a park back there called
There
Noodle
is a
Nut or
park back there,
something.
yeah, and it's
Yep.
really it's like 12 feet of water back there, and you're tucked away,
Hmm.
so that's one of my favorites.
Yep. And then we kind of skipped over it, but closer to the marina, there's this area back in here that's kind of nice to go to. There is quite a bit of current going through there, just because of the way that the original river channel swings. So just kind of be aware of that. But this we call it no stress or no gas cove because it's so close to the marina that if you have any issues, you're just right there. That's a good cove to hang out in. And then when you go under the bridge, this area over here, I think it used to be called Ski Cove. Gary, have you ever heard that?
I haven't heard that, but it might have been.
People kind of go back here to try out learning water sports, but do be mindful as you get further back in there. It does get kind of shallow, so maybe stick more to this area. And
We're
then
being Angie, we're being reminded to remind everyone, please wear your life jackets.
yes, absolutely. All our boats have the Coast Guard required vests on board, but if you're doing water sports, we do recommend members have their own life jackets for water sports.
Yeah.
It's a different type than what we supply on the boats. So you want to make sure you have the right type, the right fit. All kids under 13 have to have life jackets on at all times, so make sure they have the proper fitting life vests on at all times when you're out there. And I did we went to hole in the wall. If you kind of go through here, which this is also an area you really, really want to be watching your navionics.
There's a path
Um,
through there, but yeah, you
yep,
definitely got to be careful.
Yeah, this
yep,
time of year,
stay on the path.
Yeah.
don't go
Yeah,
through there right now.
Yeah.
During the
yeah,
summer,
go
it's
go
fine if you
around.
stay to the center, but right now
Yep.
it's not deep enough.
Yep. So you can get around by going around Hole in the Wall and Pig Island, but I wanted to point out the YMCA camp that I mentioned. They kind of have this whole area here, but this cove is pretty popular to just go hang out in. And then you've got the YMCA. They've got some docks here, so just be mindful of that no wake area. And then they've got this little cove over here. I think they usually have like a big slide or something set up for the campers. And then over here in this cove, they've got another dock for some of their boats. So again, no wake area. But a lot of people see that, when you're boating on the lake and you're like, oh, what's that? Well, that's the YMCA camp. So all right, so from there, we'll go over here a little further. You're going to go around Bear Island, which it does look like a bear, which is, I think, obviously why they call it Bear Island. Um, some members like to hang out in these little coves off of Bear Island, so just be
This
aware
is
of that.
that's the part of the lake that gets really popular with water sports as well. I've noticed is that's because it's just deep. It's deep. It's open.
Yep, much more wide open. You're not going to see all those channel markers. There are still areas to be aware of. So again, don't get complacent. Make sure you've got your navionics up, your Simrad, whatever it is you're using. And then if you want to go into Elm Hill Marina, there's the little Luau Island. Some people call it Gilligan's Island. It's just a little tiny island with a couple trees. You got Stone Island over here, so you'll go by that, and then Elm Hill has some channel markers going in this way or this way. Just make sure you're staying in between those channel markers. And then we've got Shipwreck Cove over here, which is a restaurant. I will say it's a little tricky docking.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, shipwreck's up here, not that pin's in the wrong spot. I should have adjusted that. So this is the actual restaurant. They do have some docks around the restaurant. The fingers are very short.
Yeah.
So if you've got one of our longer boats, it's going to be a challenge to get in those little tiny dock areas. You can sometimes find room to just pull up alongside and dock over here. This is the gas dock, so you want to leave that area clear. But it's another restaurant option for you to go check out. So just for you to be aware of that. I've also found the current can be kind of strong back in there around that area. So I typically like to try to go on this side. depending on the wind and whatnot. But another place for you guys to go check out on the lake. And then from there, we'll head on over to the dam. So you'll just kind of go out of Elm Hill, head that direction, and here's the dam. So there is no lock on Percy Priest. You can't like walk through to anything else. It's a non-navigable body of water. But this is the dam. There's a road that goes over. You can see it from the interstate. There are markers, to where you don't want to get too close to that area. But from the dam, then you've got Nashville Shores, which is a marina and a big water park, and that's where they have Papa Turney's barbecue. And one little tricky thing about that, I've always had a little bit of a difficult time finding, like, I don't know that they have designated boat parking. So what I usually do, and I don't know about you guys, but I'll just like call in my order and then just kind of hang out over by the fuel dock, have somebody go in and pick it up, and then we'll just eat it on the boat. Just because you don't really know what the parking is gonna be, but the barbecue is very good. So, any other areas we should point out?
I do know there's a couple sections over there with some rocks. I've seen them marked on Navionics. I'm
Oh,
not
yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
sure, but I do know there's some spots over there with some rocks and things like
There,
that.
there for sure is, and we'll open up
It's
Navionics here in a
Yeah,
bit, hopefully if everything works. But it's somewhere. Let's see. You'd think you could see it from
I'm
this,
not seeing the buoys out in front there.
and that's the problem too. The buoys are kind of small and they're really spread out, and so I think that's why that can be a troublesome area. I wish it was marked just a little better, but we'll pull up Navionics. It might be that area. No, that's just, it looks a little shallow there, but anyway, we'll pull up Navionics
yeah.
here and check that out. So let's give me one moment while I get that set up. All right, so now we're going to go into and kind of cover some more hazard areas with the Navionics app. I have to do it from my phone, so it might take me just a second. All right. And if we can't get it to work for some reason, there is actually a video that Captain Gary and I did a while back that's still up on our YouTube page where we did kind of a deep dive on Percy Priest and Old Hickory just on the hazard areas. And we brought up Navionics and went through like a full tutorial on that as well. So you can find that if I can't get this to come up for some reason. I'm going to try it one more time. Here we go. We might be in luck. It's going to make me enter a code. There it is. All right. I just need to bring this over here. And then share that. There we go. All right. Should be able to see my Navionics now. So I've got it color coded as we teach everybody to set it up with the shallow areas in the red and the orange. I've got it adjusted to what the level is right now. It's a little less than 7 feet below that 490 full pool. Is that what you saw today, Gary?
Yeah, I was running -7.
Yep, that's what I've got mine set to right now. So let's see. Jimmy wanted me to point out here at the marina where our dock is.
Yeah.
It's the next dock over, right, Jimmy? That's
Yeah,
got
it's
the.
D dock. So as you're coming around D dock, it gets really shallow, and some people have hit something down there, or maybe just it might just be the bottom, or there might be something under D dock. But we always tell people just stay. I think it's about 15 feet off. Trim your motor up just a little bit, just until you get by it, and then as you can see, you kind of get back into some deeper water. And then as you're leaving, our no wake zone is stay closer to the docks because the other side of our no wake zone can get really shallow as well.
Yeah, it was only
Yeah.
4. It got down to 4 feet when I ran around that dock today. It dropped down to 4 feet. On I think I was on the gray and white, the gray and black with the 150 on it today. Jimmy, it has a real nice Garmin unit on it,
Yeah.
and you could see there's a couple big boulders right there as you come around that dock. So that's what will pop up, and you'll hit it
Okay.
if you don't have that motor trimmed up.
And how far were you having them come off the dock? Because I think I said 15.
I do 10. I do between 10 and 15.
Okay.
Yeah, and that,
Especially
as
this
we.
time of season.
Yeah, and as we get further in, that's not going to be a concern as the water level raises. It's just right now. So if you're taking boats out early in the season, just really be aware of that. Trim up. And then as you go through the no wake zone, this area over here can be kind of hazardous, especially when those water levels are up. It's not as evident. There are a few little trees over there, but it's basically just a big rocky area. So just be aware of that as you come out of the marina. And then follow the channel. If you do want to cut back into that no stress cove, really shallow through here, so just make sure you're staying. I wouldn't this time of year go through there. I'd go around. But this is that no stress cove we mentioned right by the marina, or no gas cove. If you're trying to save on your gas bill, go back and hang out there. But this time of year, I'd go around, and you really have to go around quite a ways because there's that island comes out, just a big rocky area, way further than you would even think. Especially when that water starts coming up a little bit, you won't be able to see it unless you're using your electronics. So make sure if you're boating back in there, just go all the way around and go back. And
Yeah,
then,
that buoy right there really will give you a terrible sense of trying to think of the word, but you think you're okay, but if you get on the wrong side of that buoy, you're on them rocks.
yep, I know
And
many
especially,
people, friends that have didn't realize that's how that island was, and so they've wrecked props and lower units cutting that too close. Um, so then again, we're coming out of Four Corners. Oh, we're gonna go under Hobson Pike Bridge. Nope, don't do it. That's shallow, shallow, shallow right through there. There's all these markers, so it should be pretty obvious. But I think a lot of times people just see other boaters going through there and just think, oh, they did it, I can do it.
No,
Just don't do it.
on the Navionics as well, when it shows that like crosshairs, it's still showing summer pool, so you still got to watch like the shading and the depth, because I know people will check their crosshair and it'll say 15, but it's actually 9, whatever, it's 6 feet below, it's
Yeah.
9 now, or it says 10 and now it's 4.
Yep. So even like right here, I'm on dry land and it's showing it 7 foot deep because that's summer pool.
Yeah.
So, don't trust what it's saying. 8 feet, don't trust that. That's not adjusted to that -7 that we did. So, um, So yeah, I'm not going to go through like setting up your, we've got these big red hazard markers. We did that in our last tutorial. So go to our YouTube channel, watch that video if you haven't seen it. But you can clearly see the deep area of the channel. So you're just going to follow that around. Like Jamie said, that kind of hugs that Long Hunter State Park area. So this is that Pear Island we talked about where there's a shallow, like beachy area. You don't want to cut that too close. Just follow the channel, go under the bridge, and go from there. Any other areas where we've been finding, a lot of people have been running into trouble. I'll show that Nashville Shores area real quick that we were talking about. So if you're going all the way up here to Nashville Shores, this is that shallow area that we were talking about. So they do have these white markers, but they're super spread out. And then like right now, this is dry land. But when the waters come up a little bit, you're not going to see that. And so that's just another area if you're heading this direction toward the dam and Nashville Shores. There's another shallow area there. Um, so again, if you're using your navionics, you're going to see that and just avoid those areas.
Yeah, and then I know we talked about it on the Google Earth part, but that Long Hunter part, because it's narrow in there to stay in the channel, and you really have that rock wall. We've had a couple pretty serious accidents over there.
Yeah, so this is that rock wall, what it looks like on navionics that comes all the way out. Um, and then that big sandbar on the other side. So just
And
stay
it
in
comes
between
that's
those markers.
yeah, and that sandbar comes all the way out uh, to the red buoy almost right now. But that's where that little end where you got the little red marker on the end. It's
Mm-hmm.
just out past that. There's a little ear that comes off or comes
It's
almost all the
supposed to
way
be
out to that buoy. But the
supposed to
buoy is
be
in the right.
air.
Yeah, the buoy's in
Okay.
the right spot. But you see that little orange tail coming out to that buoy?
Mm-hmm.
It comes all
Right
the way
there.
out to. Yeah, it comes all the way out to the buoy. So
Yeah,
you do
so it
definitely
might be
want to make
just
sure you're
off a
swinging.
little. It might actually be sitting right there instead of right there.
Yeah.
Which happens. We've had a lot of storms and things like that, and it can blow those buoys off where they're supposed to be just a little bit. So it's why you should always use caution. And I'll just show a quick snapshot. If you're going Fate Sanders direction, you can see this is Fate Sanders, how shallow all the orange and red there. So this time of year, maybe don't go that way. As you get further, it's just really, really shallow. So, you'll see fishermen doing it, but you may not want to. Any other hazards to mention? I mean, there's a lot of them. We
Yeah,
could probably spend another hour just talking about hazard areas. I know Gary's mentioned this one.
Right, that one right there, especially right now, don't go through there.
Yep,
It's extremely
that's a
shallow.
that's a cut through. So if you're wanting to, take a shortcut instead of following the channel all around to get to Fate Sanders as you're coming out of Four Corners, which is right here, if you hang a right and try to go through here, I don't even do it in the summer. I mean, you can if you're being super, super careful, but I'd rather just go around and play it safe. I mean,
And,
I always say you're out there boating, you're out there to enjoy your time on the water, you're having a good time. Why worry about taking shortcuts? So,
yeah, and that boat is still there, so it's a sight to
let's
see how
see.
shallow it is. That they haven't removed that boat yet, so it's still there.
Oh wow. Wow. That's crazy. I thought it would be gone by now.
Me too.
All right, so we'll go back to the presentation here. If I can find it. There it is. Share my screen again. All right. So we covered a little bit of the hazards just to be aware of. If you're coming over from East Tennessee, or maybe you always boat on Center Hill or Tim's Ford, you want to check out Percy Priest. Again, this will be saved on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So if you want to go back and reference it as a refresher, it's going to be there for you. And we're going to continue featuring other locations weekly. We just won't be doing one next week because it's spring break. So I don't think we'd have a ton of people available to hop on and watch it. But we'll try to get them all covered before we really get into the good boating season so you can make your plans. Um, I do want to mention, as we just talked about all the hazards, we do offer an add-on to your membership if you don't already have it called Peace of Mind. It's optional, but what it does, if you have a run aground and wreck a lower unit, you need to file an insurance claim. It will buy down your deductible to zero for up to 2 claims throughout the calendar year, or from when you add Peace of Mind, actually. It also gives you $500 in just miscellaneous credit. So if you ding a prop or lose an anchor or something like that, you don't have to worry about, writing a check. Just that will cover that. $1,000 in towing. Obviously, anything mechanical that goes wrong with the boat, we cover that because that's one of the beauty parts of being in the boat club is you don't have to worry about maintenance stuff. But if you run aground and the boat needs to be towed in, you get $1,000 in towing. And it's not just in Tennessee, but any Freedom Boat Club location you might be going to. So if you're taking advantage of your reciprocal access and you're out in San Diego or down in Florida or Boston or Chicago, wherever you go, that Peace of Mind will cover you. So it's a nice benefit. Reach out to myself or Jason if you're over in East Tennessee. I'll share. Let me see if I can find our email addresses to pop up. I don't think I still have it from the last session, but Angie.Scott@freedomboatclub.com and Jason.Evans@freedomboatclub.com, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about that and get you set up if that's something you want to add on. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and add Mariah back on. Mariah, do you want to add anything about that Peace of Mind?
No, it's one of those things where this time of year and since November, we've been refurbishing the boats and things like that, and the money that we can round up to keep putting back into the boats is absolutely necessary. That's where all that money goes, and we just don't want to, you know, give our members stress when docking and things like that. If you come in a little hot and you make a little bump or bruise on the gel coat, we don't want to sit there and put the measuring tape out and ding you for it. Sometimes we just want to say, hey, you know what? Let's get you back on the water. Let's do a little bit more training. But this one's on us. We're constantly trying to get the boats, fixed up and patched up as fast as we can. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of money.
Yeah. So yeah, ask us about that if that's something you're interested in. And then just some resources for you guys if you want. You should already have the TVA Lake Info app. If you've been through the training, that's going to show you the current water levels. Super important so you can adjust your navionics accordingly. We mentioned this on the last one we did, but they did increase their annual subscription. It used to be $24.99 for the year. Now it's $49.99 for the year. I think they've realized how much value having this app has been giving boaters wherever you go in North America. So unfortunately, it has gone up, but I still think it's 100% worth it. There's a TWRA on the go app if you need to purchase a fishing license or just review the boating regulations or fishing regulations. So that's really handy to have. Some Facebook groups you might want to join to just learn a little bit more about Percy Priest and things going on. There's a Percy Priest Boaters group, there's a Percy Priest Bass Anglers group, and there's a Percy Priest Lake Lovers group. So if you want to go ahead and go join those. Do you guys know of any others that might be good?
No, I'm a part of that Percy Priest Boaters group. I don't know about any of the other ones.
I'm with the bass anglers, so
Okay.
Of course. Very cool. I don't see a lot of activity on the Lake Lovers group, but there's some. So anyway, but also as we're kind of wrapping up here and heading into the Q&A, we did want to let everybody know this is the time of year we're hiring. Mariah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much hiring at all 11 locations right now. So, Percy Priest, for one, it's our biggest operation. It's definitely our biggest team. So if you live in that area or want to work on the water, I grew up working on the water and I absolutely fell in love with it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. And, of course, Jimmy was a member, then he worked for us, and now he's our fleet manager. So it isn't always on the dock. So if you want to get into the marine industry, if you want to get into the boating industry, this is a really good way to get into it. And it's also fun.
Yep.
You get to drive boats, learn how to drive boats, be on new boats constantly. Not a lot of people get that.
Yep, flexible schedule, good compensation plus tips. And if you're interested or you know somebody who might be a good fit for dock staff, just reach out to us, operationstn@freedomboatclub.com, and we'd be happy to talk with you or whoever you send our way. So now we'll get into the Q&A.
Drum
Have
roll.
there been any more comments or things we need to address? One thing I didn't share earlier, I wanted to, just so for all our members have it, our Percy Priest Four Corners location dock phone number, 615-499-0207. If you want to put that in your phone, if you don't already have it, you might want to do that. But yeah, what do we have for comments, Q&A?
Yeah, let me scroll up. I'm going to start from the top. Thank you for the people that are on, that are being interactive in our chat. This has been really fun. One Facebook user said to please pick up your trash, take it with you. If you go camping on one of the islands, take your trash with you. Bring a bag with you every time, and don't bring glass. We highly encourage that as well. Every year, our dock staff goes out to the islands and cleans up, and occasionally during our flips, we will. I'm able to click it, or did you do that?
I did it.
Oh, that's fun. I thought I did it on accident. But sometimes during our flip, we'll go out and take trash bags to the islands if we have enough time. Let's see. When's scoreboard opening? Last we heard is St. Patty's Day. Don't hold us to that, but that's the last we heard. What's the typical tip for the concierge service? That's a really great question. And one that I'm not super, I don't really know how to answer that the best. I would just say, tip when you're finished with your experience. Don't start the day with tipping, because at the end of it, they may not deserve it at the end. Get down there, get to your boat. If the experience is wonderful and it just blows your mind how awesome we are, then, throw them a 10, throw them a 20. But, it is not absolute, they're not guaranteed tips. It's based on performance. So if you get down to your boat and it's dirty and you're not happy with it, please fill out your Qualtrics survey at the end of your reservation so we know what we need to fix. But also, don't tip them if they don't deserve it. So I'm going to keep going. Hi, Kevin Van Horn. So good to see you. Ryan Cleesh. Thanks, Natalie. Logan asked, love the history and updates. Any additional surf boats at Center Hill or Tim's Ford? Yes, and yes. We will be having new surf boats at both locations. 2 this year at Tim's Ford. We were originally supposed to have 2 last year, but unfortunately, our brand new one had to come out of the water as soon as it went in. It's a real big problem. Well, I won't say all the time, not with all brands, but that first break-in period with the vessels, we will really tell a story as to how well that boat was put together. And it can be frustrating at times, but we've made big investments in having ghost boats and ghost surf boats, so we never have to cancel reservations. Though I do know that it gets frustrating. Just know that we have a whole tech team that's devoted to keeping the boats alive and keeping them on the water. Jimmy will be part of that group, leading the logistics there this season. Douglas Snyder, we can see your comment on YouTube where you asked, how do we ask a question? I can see it there. So if you do have a question, feel free to write it in. We are the best dang Freedom Boat Club in the world. We agree. Thank you. Thanks, Nancy, for plugging the Boating Sisters. We really appreciate you doing that and being here. Johnny Miller. Yeah, I agree. Sean is from Lake St. Clair. Thanks for joining. Just saying hi. Oh, let's see. You guys are great. We also think this is really helpful, so thank you for leaving that. We'll be sure to do these more often. Towboat US is in the house, talking about how they're constantly having to pull people out of that area between it's Pear Island and
Yeah.
the bridge. Okay, thank goodness.
Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
not going around and following
If
the
you're not
channel,
going
or
around, if you cut through,
Yeah.
Towboat US is pulling a lot of boats out of there.
Yep.
Towboat says that if anyone mentions the Freedom Boat Club live videos, they'll waive the commission and offer the membership for $84 for the year, just to offer to help. So thank you so much, Shannon.
Great deal.
Let's see. Tom Baker says, congrats on the new job, Jimmy, from the Bakers.
Thank you, Tom.
Congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Liz. We will keep this up on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook all summer. Sherry Campbell. And let's see. Everybody appreciates you guys doing this. I do as well. I learned quite a bit.
I'm excited
A lot of
to
hearts
learn
flying.
about, our East Tennessee location. So we're definitely going to be jumping around and getting all of them covered on future, streams. So I think it's going to be super helpful for everybody.
So we've got a really good comment question from Tara. Sometimes the person that helped me initially is not the person that helps me at the end of the day, so I feel bad. That is really awesome, but they do share all of the tips. So at the end of the day, everything is clumped together. If somebody only worked half a day, then they get their end of the bargain in their locker for the next day. So if you don't see the same person when you started and at the end of your experience, those tips are shared. The experience is always wonderful. We are so happy to hear that. Thank you. Jeremy, hello down at Tim's Ford. Thank you. Tyler Ellis, which overlay should we use to see the color-coded depths? I'll probably just watch the video again. What do you say to that?
Yeah, it's
sonar charts.
Sonar charts, because some of the overlays don't allow you to use the color coding. So Captain Gary's spot on. Make sure you have that selected, and then it's the fishing ranges where you set up your depths and your colors for that shading.
Yeah, and they have to be check marked when you see your color. There has to be a check mark to see those colors on your mapping.
You also have to have updated and paid for the version again if you haven't been on it in a year.
Correct.
Yep. Other than that, welcome Jeff to the club. Looking forward to their first year.
Well,
we look forward to seeing you. Katie, she's super late and she's going to bed. Oh, she's putting the baby to bed, but she's excited to see us. We're excited to see you too. You and the kids. I think that's it. If anyone has any other questions, put them in the chat. I'm hoping, if all of the comments aren't getting onto my screen right now, we do apologize. But I am going to go through all of our pages when we're done and just be sure that we hit everything. And yeah, so that was fun. You all did a really great job. Thank you.
in a hour and 24 minutes just on Percy Priest, so you can see why we had to kind of pivot our original plan and do one location at a time. And I think it's, going to give you a lot more value than if we just try to speed through all 11 locations in one night. So looking
Yep.
forward to seeing you all back here again. Planning Old Hickory, I think it's the 20th. So not next week, but the following, Captain Gary and I. Maybe we'll get some other people to hop on and we'll go through that location. Then we'll head on over and hit east, get some of the east locations highlighted, and then just keep going from there. So,
Yep. This was fun.
all
Cool.
right. Thank you,
Y'all have a good
everyone.
night. Boat
Thanks
safe,
for
have
everybody that
fun.
tuned in.
Use Navionics.
Did it. Bye,
That's
guys.
right. Good night.